Hello there, guys. Welcome to Breakfast All Day. How's it going? I'm Christy. That's Alonso. That's Matt. We have a treat for you now. This one's excellent. It's a documentary called Summer of Soul, and Matt is going to tell you about it.
I love when a documentary is revelatory, and this one absolutely is. And it's so well put together. In 1969, a music festival happened in New York every weekend of the summer, or a bunch of weekends, maybe not every weekend. 6 weeks in Harlem, in Mount Morris Park, what is now called Marcus Garvey Park. And it was a basically soul music festival. And it had a lot of some of the up and coming artists, some of the established artists. It was, almost entirely Black artists to an almost entirely Black audience. And when everybody thinks of 1969, they think of Woodstock, and maybe later you think about Altamont. This has better music by far. And it had been all but forgotten, even though it was shot at the time. And through one thing leads to another, and Questlove ends up hearing about the footage and coming in to direct it as a documentary. And you get some of the artists that performed there and some of the people that were there. The movie starts out with one of the people that was in the audience starting to watch the filming, or starting to watch the footage for the first time. And you can see its emotional impact on him. And the movie bookends talking to that particular person. This movie is beautiful. It is a wonderful celebration of the music, of the culture. I think Questlove does a terrific job of taking each artist and contextualizing what they were doing at the time and how it fit into 1969 Black culture. It is a crash course in, where the civil rights movement was at that time after the assassination of so many of the leaders. This movie is amazing. Also, just the footage and the performances are jaw-dropping. They're so good, coupled with Questlove gets people, the people that he talks to, like Stevie Wonder and Mavis Staples, over to about, yes, he also talks to Lin-Manuel Miranda and Chris Rock, and they kind of add their commentary. But he's got people who are still alive who perform there, who put their stuff in perspective. So when Mavis Staples talks about her love for Mahalia Jackson and getting to sing with her, it makes that moment a tearjerker. I love this movie. This is a wonderful documentary. I'm so impressed with what they did here. I just watched it before we started taping, so I haven't even had time to look for man, somebody better be putting out this whole recording someplace, because I would absolutely watch all the footage that they captured from this concert, because just for the performances alone and the star power and the musicianship, because it's not just soul music. You also get
gospel,
Max Roach, and who was, had more of a jazz background, and Ray Barretto and Mongo Santa Maria. The Ray Barretto stuff I'm a huge Ray Barretto fan. So getting to see him do that is great. There's one fan,
Mom's Mabley set.
The Mom's Mabley set. Yeah, exactly. There's one particular person who talks about how he and his crew were suit and tie guys, and they love the Temptations. And then after Sly and the Family Stone comes on, and they're like, man, who are these guys? And they got a white drummer. What the fuck? And after that, they're like, oh, no, we're all wearing our own thing now. This movie, I cannot say enough good stuff about it, except that if you like music at all, this is essential viewing. Please watch this. It's so good.
Yeah, you mentioned how the Mavis Staples stuff is emotional. I got choked up watching Marilyn McCoo watching
herself.
The Fifth Dimension. Yes. That whole segment is really fascinating too. So yeah, the Fifth Dimension performs, and the rap on them is that people thought they were a white band, that they didn't quote unquote sound Black, and so for them to be amid Stevie Wonder and Sly the Family Stone and Gladys Knight and the Pips,
Nina Simone,
and that was a huge deal for them. And so with a lot of these artists, I'm guessing all these artists, they've probably never seen this footage. So for her to watch that moment and be able to express that they wanted to be vocal and central to the civil rights movement as well. Like, that was very emotional too. Yeah, Questlove is the perfect person to make this movie because he's got such an encyclopedic knowledge of music and he's so passionate so clearly. And he gets his arms around a lot in the space of 2 hours. Like, we just talked about how the Tomorrow War is 2 hours and 20 minutes long and it's like, it just keeps going. This is, you feel really satisfied with the amount of performance he's included. You know, he's got full performances, but also a lot of the context as to what's happening in the nation and what's happening in New York specifically during this, and interviews. And it just feels so full and so satisfying. One thing I had never thought about before is the way the moon landing played among the African-American community here. You know, every depiction you see of the moon landing in 69 is like, oh, it's majestic and it's heroic and it's American greatness and it's something for us all to be proud of. But you realize in retrospect, oh, that's a white person's take on it. And they talk to Black people on the street and at this concert. And it's like, we need that money here. People are starving. We need to use that money.
Was it Lovecraft Country that played Whitey on the Moon, or was it something else?
Lovecraft Country played it, and it also in First Man they play it.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think this movie's great. In the last year or two, we got Amazing Grace, which was that incredible Franklin performance piece, which Sidney Pollack had shot, but they'd never been able to. There were various tech issues, and we were seeing it for the first time. And so, for Questlove to find this material, this could have just been a film like that, where it was just a concert film, just collections of the performances, and that alone would have been exciting and revelatory. But yeah, he does a really great job of contextualizing everything. So you're talking about where America is and where specifically where the Black community is in 1969, and you get these interviews with the people who are still around, the people who were there, the people who were performing. And people like Charlene Hunter Galt, you know, were kind of putting it into context. And yeah, I think in 2 hours, you're right. It does wrap its arms around so much. It's so just thoroughly compelling. The music is exhilarating, but it's also this larger cultural thing that this music doesn't exist in a vacuum, that it was about something and it existed at this particular time for a very specific reason. And, you know, yeah, it's the kind of thing where you're going to start jotting down names of like, it reminded me, I need more Abby Lincoln records in my life, you know? This is just extraordinary. I don't know what other kind of films Questlove has in him, but he gets the tone and the emotion and the historicity and all that stuff just right here.
I didn't realize that Sly and the Family Stone was like a genius along the lines of Prince in terms of his musicality. Right. Did you guys know that? I did. Yeah.
Yeah. But what's so good about it is Questlove, you know, and part of it's the people he has describing what's going on, both who were there at the time and smart people about, you know, like Chris Rock is too young to have been there, but knows his way around Black culture enough to be able to add some really good context quickly. Right. And so the movie moves really fast. And this is a perfect example of like, leave them wanting more. But, you know, you get this in 5 minutes, you learn that Sly Stone was this incredible musician who played multiple instruments, had a background, you know, had studied music formally, but also had a background in gospel and in the church, and all of that fused, you know, and was very, very socially aware. So all of that sets you up that when he's performing, you really then understand and really appreciate what he's doing. And that happens with all the artists. Like, you get a little bit of their background and it sets them up for the performance rather than like, here's the performance and then here's what it meant.
Right.
And that I'm just like, I'm gobsmacked by this movie. It's so joyous and perfect. And then as we get at the end, like, the way it closes is also really, really powerful. And you know, again, like, I'm gushing, I can't say enough good stuff. I think the movie does a good job of, you know, they talk to Al Sharpton and they talk to Jesse Jackson and, you know, get little bits with them. I was frankly shocked that they got a hold of Stevie Wonder, right? You know, who then talks about where he was at that point in his life and where he ended up going. I almost started talking about this. One of the things I really love is with the Stevie Wonder performance, one of the cameras, you get to see his hands on the keyboard. And it's that moment of, oh, holy shit. Yeah, you forget what a great
I had never seen him play drums.
He plays the
before.
drums.
Yeah,
I didn't
he
realize
plays the
that
drums.
either.
Sheila E. drops in to explain why Barretto's playing was different than Mongo Santa Maria. There's so much for music nerds here. But even if you're not a huge music nerd, this is essential. That's all I can say.
Good.
I know. I was going to say, absolutely watch this movie. It's streaming on Hulu. You have no excuse not to see this movie, and it's also in some theaters as well. But the things to pair it with, if this piques your interest in this period of music, definitely Amazing Grace, the Aretha Franklin doc, but also a doc that came out or that was restored last year called Nation Time.
Oh yeah,
from 1972, the William Greaves did about the
we talked about that, didn't we?
The Black Political Convention. I reviewed it for the Wrap. I can't remember if we talked about it.
We talked about it here, yeah.
Did we? Okay, yeah. Anyway, I think that's also on Canopy. Track it down. Great movie.
I was going to mention real fast, the editor, Joshua L. Pearson, as longtime documentary editor, also did What Happened, Miss Simone. So he's, does a lot to make this move along as beautifully as it does. And yeah, I dug it.
I want to talk about that editing really, really quick. That point where I think it's Sharpton talking about how so much of the music was, he's like, Black people didn't have therapists. We didn't have psychoanalysts. We had the music. And, this is us expressing our pain. And there's a moment where the editor is cutting that all so close together. And it's just beautiful. Yeah.
So what's your number?
I'm going to raise my number from where it was at a 9.9 to 10.
I am also saying 10.
Yeah.
I have no argument not to. Yeah, it's a 10.
I was going to say you had a 9 before, but yeah. So this is excellent. And as Alonso says, it's on Hulu. So please go find it.
But if you can't see it in the theater, it is getting some release from Searchlight, and obviously orally, if you can, dig it in the theater, you'll appreciate the opportunity to have done so. Thanks for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at BFast All Day on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out our Patreon at patreon.com/BFastAllDay. We're talking about Loki, Ted Lasso season 2 just around the corner. We're going to be covering that as well. So check us out, patreon.com/BFastAllDay. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. See you next time.